Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Happy New Year. Today I'll show you how to create a baby blanket or a typical granny square using the corner to corner granny stitch style. That is, we'll start from this corner and we'll end at another corner. You can make it into any length that you want or breadth and you can make it with any crochet hook that your yarn requires you to use. I'll use a 4mm crochet hook for mine. Let's begin. To begin your blanket or granny square, you make a slip knot and then chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Into the first chain you make a slip knot. So I go into the first one and make a slip knot. Then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now you make your first granny stitch inside this space that you have here. So to make a granny stitch, you will make 3 double crochets. So let's start. So that's 1, 2, 3. So I've made 3 double crochets. Now I'll add a 4th one so that I can make an increase for the next round. So to make the 4th double crochet, I've yarned over, go into that space, pull out from 2 loops, pull out from the last 2. Then you chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. Now this space between this last double crochet you made and the next one, you'll make 3 double crochets in there. That's 1 granny stitch. So let's make it 1, 2, 3. Then you skip the next 3 stitches. So you're going to skip 1, 2, 3, and you make another in here. So one, 2, 3. So if you look at our work, it's not so clear at this stage, but then if you look at it closely, we have 1 granny stitch here and we have 2 granny stitches here. That means we have made this layer and this layer. Now to finish off this round, we'll make another double crochet. And then chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. Now let me clear the background. As you can see, we have the last double crochet we made. And we have these 3 double crochets which make up 1 granny stitch. We have a space, another 3 double crochets which make up a granny stitch, and our 3 chain here. So that means we have created spaces for the increases we need for this next round. So to continue, we'll make 1 granny stitch right here. One, 2, and 3. Now, as usual, we'll skip these 3 stitches, which is 1 granny stitch, and in this space we'll make 1 granny stitch. 1, 2, 3. always remember that one granny stitch is 3 double crochets. To continue, of course, we'll skip this next 3 stitches and then make the last one here. So 1, 2, 3. Now remember, we are still making increases, so, and because we need a layer, we need one more double crochet in order to have a space to make the increase of the next layer. So remember that you always end the row with 4 double crochets instead of the regular 3 double crochets. So let's go ahead and make the 4th one. That's it. Now you chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. As usual, you're making 1 granny stitch in this space. And then this space, another granny stitch. And continue like that until the end of the row. This last one can be tricky. You can always count when you are confused. 1, 2, 3, space. So that's where we need to make it. And remember that to end every round, we always make 4 double crochets instead of the regular 3 double crochets. And at the end of every round, we chain 3 before we turn our work. At the beginning of every round, in the very first stitch, we make our first granny stitch. And we continue to make granny stitches as we go ahead. So before I continue, I would like to explain the pattern to you. So as you can see, this side is the length and this side is the breadth of your blanket or granny square. For better understanding, I would place it on this big one I already have. So see, this is where I'm at right now. So as long as you keep making increases at the end of every row by adding that extra double crochet, and you keep chaining 3 before every new row, you will always have spaces to make increases. Now, to keep this video very short, I won't make a square as big as this. I would make the square smaller so that I can show you how to start decreasing once you have achieved the width and length that you desire. So you continue to make increases until this is as long as you want it to be, as wide, and this is as long as you want it to be. So if you're making a blanket, you know that will be several rows, and if you're only making a square, depending on the size of the square you want, this will also guide you. So once you have reached your desired length and breadth, I'll show you how to make the decreases. So I'll assume that this small square or triangle has achieved its desired length and breadth. So now let's start to make decreases. I've already changed 3 for my turn, so I'm just going to turn right now. Now, usually we'll start to make the first double crochet, the first granny stitch in this first space, but remember we are making decreases for this row, so I wouldn't go into that space. Instead, I will be working only in between the granny stitches. So I'm about to work my last granny stitch for this row. Remember, I said we are only working in between granny stitches, so this will be the last one. Now you might be wondering what will happen to this space. So for that last space, instead of working a granny stitch, I will work only one double crochet. So I'll just find the space. Yeah, that's it. Then I'll work one double crochet. To continue, I'll chain 3 as usual and turn my work. Now remember, I said we are only working in between granny stitches, which means I will not do anything here. I would only make my granny stitches in between these spaces, and at this last only between these places, and at this last place I'll make one double crochet. Just watch. If at this point you have not subscribed, please try to do so. Please, please, please. So this is the first double crochet, second, and the third, and that makes up the first granny stitch. This is the second granny stitch. And this is the last one. So you might be wondering what will happen to this space, you know. So like we did previously, we won't make a granny stitch into this place because it's the last hole of this roll. We would rather make a double crochet just to, you know, make that corner smoother. So you see, it's starting to take the shape of a corner, and this here is also starting to take the shape of a corner. So to proceed to the next row, of course, we'll chain 3 once more and turn the work. Remember, we only work in between granny stitches, so I won't do anything here. I will start my first granny stitch here. So that's all the granny stitches for this layer, and I still have that last space. So we just make one double crochet in that last space. As usual, I need to chain 3 before I turn my work. Yeah. And then you can see I won't make anything here, but I'll make one granny stitch here. And in that space, as usual, only one double crochet. Now you can see for this last row, I only had to make one granny stitch, which means I've come to the end of the pattern. So to end it all, I'll chain 3, turn my work, and at this space I'll make a slip stitch. I mean, this space is just after the last granny stitch you worked. And then chain 1, pull the yarn and cut it. And there you have it, guys. It's a miniature version. Remember, you have to stretch out the yarn, and you're meant to cut this and pull it out once you are satisfied with it. So this is the big version and this is the small version. So as you can see, you can make it into any size you want. You just keep making increases until you have the desired length and breadth, and once you have achieved that, then you start to make decreases. Thank you for watching. I hope I was able to teach this in a very clear way. If you have questions, please feel free to write them in the comment section and I'll try my best to explain. I can even record a new video if that's what you need. And Happy New Year. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Bye.